Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're starting a new series today. Okay, let me tell you all this story about Windbreaker. I was starting to get recommendations for Windbreaker earlier on this year, like the beginning of this year. And if you know what month it is, it's been a while. So I've been recommended this show for quite some time, and I have somehow managed to go all of this time being recommended this show and avoided all spoilers for it. So, if you're new to my channel, I'm Romania Black. I'm an English teacher, speech coach. I love anime. I grew up watching anime as a kid. I love it, and I love talking about it in my spare time. So that's what we're here to do. We're going to do deep dive analyses into each episode and break it down as much as we can and talk about what's amazing about it. So, Windbreaker's been recommended for quite some time. It's had polls. It's been on the Wheel of Fate. It's had lots of different opportunities to win, but it's just been like the bridesmaid, never the bride. And so finally, since Fridays are Romania's Choice Day, I decided that I'm going to watch this show. So that's why we're here. But it's been heavily recommended. People have been really good about not spoiling me with what it's about, so I have no earthly clue. I have no clue. The only thing I know about this show is the main character, I think, is like Cruella de Vil and has half black, half white hair. That's all I know, is there's a salt and pepper protagonist. That's it. I don't know anything else about this show. Nothing. And I am so excited about that. So there will be a link down below to watch the reaction. So go check it out there and then come back and we will discuss the episode, talk about theories, talk about ships, talk about all sorts of things in the episode itself. If you enjoy this content and you want to support me, if you can't support me over on my Patreon over there gets people access a week early to everything. So if you want to go ahead and watch episode 2, you can hop on over to Patreon and it'll already be there for you. Otherwise, if you can't afford Patreon, totally understand. Just give this video a like, give myself a subscription, and just comment down below with your thoughts about Windbreaker, and that'll do the trick. So, with that being said, I've waited so long to dive into this show, and I'm finally excited that we're here. So, with that being said, we're not going to waste any more time. So we're watching the Japanese subs. There's a link to the reaction down below. You come back, we'll talk about the episode. We'll break it down. I go back through the episode and see what I missed and just talk about everything that has to do with Windbreaker, episode 1. So with that being said, we are going to start Windbreaker, episode 1. And we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And I've been told that I have to avoid the OP for now. So when we get to the OP and the ED, we're going to be avoiding those for this episode. So just keep in mind, I will be editing around those. All right, let's go. Okay. I think I started this entire video. I was so hyped up for Windbreaker and to finally be starting this show and to be diving into it and seeing what it's about. And now that I have a bare bones understanding of what it's about, I am intrigued. I am so curious to see where this is going. And it is not what I imagined at all, because when you hear the name Windbreaker, you're like, I don't know what that means, you know? So we need to talk about this episode. My dog will have me play with this toy while I'm talking to y'all. So if I've been down out of frame, I am getting his toy to throw to him. But yeah, so we're going to talk about this episode. We're going to talk a little bit about the VAs, because the VAs are exciting. And also about some comparisons to other shows on the channel. I will try to spoiler tag up here so that you're not all just like, well, I didn't want a spoiler about that, because I'm not really here for spoilers either. So I'm so intrigued as to where we will go with this. If you know anything about my channel or about myself, I love character-driven shows. You give me a show that's character-driven and I am on board. Even if the premise sounds kind of silly, even if the premise isn't the most exciting thing in the world, character development, here for. And already you are giving me hints of there will be a big cast of characters, which means there will be lots of moments for character development, which I'm like, yes, please. And if you've not watched Natsume's Book of Friends, okay? If you've not watched Natsume's Book of Friends, I'm about to do a little bit of Natsume spoilers for that. If you don't care, keep listening. If not, wait till this is gone. But just in this episode alone, I feel that Windbreaker is asking the question, what if Natsume did not meet the Fujiwaras and became a delinquent? Like, sexy yokai. Am I wrong? Just Sakura, his attitude right now gives off tsundere Natsume if he never met the Fujiwaras. That was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, man, and we're going to talk about it. And a lot of things that I say about Sakura's character, end of Natsume spoilers, will relate to that series and how the main character of that series is. So go watch Natsume's Book of Friends. It's great. Not like Windbreaker at all, but kind of in terms of beating up various people. So leave it at that. Y'all can comment down below about the Natsume Sakura comparisons. I would be glad to talk about it in the comments. But yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about the voice actors for the three main characters that we've been introduced to, which is the lovely Sakura, which them parents made choices. It made me think of his entire design. Not to also relate, this isn't really a spoiler, but there's a character in Fruits Basket who also has black and white hair, who also has a name that's kind of playing off of itself and rhymes with itself. So I'm like, is it paying homage to that? We don't know. But if you're curious as to who is voicing our sweet tsundere, he wishes he was tsundere, but is actually an innocent being on the inside, Sakura. The voice actor is the one, the only Yuma Uchida, which if you don't know who Yuma Uchida is, there are three characters that I instantly was like, yep. You may know him as Kyo from Fruits Basket. You may know him as Reo from Blue Lock. But also, more importantly, if you're talking about delinquents who actually have a heart of gold on the inside, Kyo is one of them. But Megumi from Jujutsu Kaisen and frickin' Ash Lynx from Banana Fish. Need I say more? The moment I heard that voice, I was like, I think I know who this is. And I wanted to double check because I'm not great with voice actors except for like a handful. I can count on one hand the ones I can recognize. But yeah, I was like, okay, awesome. So Yuma Uchida, of course it is, playing Sakura. Now, playing Hiragi, who we just met at the end of this episode, who a face only a mother could love. How is he in high school? He's going to be a hard 30 when he hits 30. He is voiced by Ryota Suzuki. And if you're wondering who Ryota Suzuki voices, ironically or interestingly enough, he voices characters on Blue Lock, much like Uchida. But hilariously, I am reading the manga for Cherry Magic right now, have watched the series on my channel, and he plays the voice of Kurosawa from Cherry Magic. And I was like, what a range. What a role range, right? And then we have Kumi Hasegawa. Now, Kumi Hasegawa plays our lovely lady in this, which I freaking am in love with her character already. I'm like, yes, please. She has a kind of funky name. It's not a name that like rolls off the tongue like Sakura instantly. Her character, which is Tachibana, Kotoa Tachibana. If I call her Tachibana, I'm only going to think of Makoto from Free. I'm only going to think of Makoto from Free, who has a similar hair color. They could be cousins. But I'm going to call her Kotoha. Her name is, I'm going to call her Cotto. I'm going to call her Cotto-chan for right now because Cotto is easier for me to say until we get her name more in this series. But she voices her. She also voices Ubel from Frieren, and I was like, yes, please. Voices Ubel. Love that for her voice actress. She's been a voice actor for about 12 years, so she's been voice acting for quite a bit and has played a lot of characters. I love her character so far. Yeah, Koto-chan, love her. We're going to talk about her. So the mods have told me, I've pulled up my Discord because I had made a note and I remembered it right before I started. I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to watch the OP. The mods did some research. I like to stay as spoiler free for as long as I can. So for this first season, I'm not going to be looking at the OP until after episode 6. I know that's halfway through the season. It'll be fine. I'll see it at episode 7. It'll be okay. And then I'm not looking at the ED until episode 9. So I know that's most of the season, but I don't want spoilers. So, and that's just what we have to do. Tell the animation studios to stop making OPs that have context spoilers. So, also, apparently, each episode has a post-ed skit These are scenes included. They're not previews. They're from the current episode. Okay. I might check out the skits because that's kind of cool. I don't know if I will check out the skits every episode. I'll try to if I can remember to, because that's kind of fun. But okay. So we have Sakura. Start talking about Uchida's character, Sakura, here. I loved the idea of the tightrope at the beginning. At first, it looks like a chalk drawing, which if we're talking about high school and him going to Furin High School, that kind of makes sense. But I liked it as this metaphor of he's been walking this tightrope. He's been walking this very thin line growing up and has been ostracized his entire existence. And I already love the theme that this show is bringing up about a fresh start. I love the idea of him leaving home, leaving behind this village where he is being judged, where he is being oppressed, and moving to a new place to start anew and to be recognized, which we'll talk about in this episode about, you know, the village recognizing him and everything and treating him well, but getting a fresh start, right? I'm a college teacher and I also do advisement for students, and I talk to students a lot, and they're like, you know, a lot of seniors I'll talk to, they'll be like, oh, I had a bad experience in high school. And I'm like, that's cool. It's not cool that you had that experiment, that you had that experience. Back up. But I'll talk to them and they'll say I had a bad experience in high school. And I'll say, well, it sucks that happened to you. But the good news is college is a fresh start. It's a blank slate. It's a whole new ball game. The people that you knew in your high school, you don't have to hang out with them in college. You make new friends, you make new community, you make new connections. You can start anew. If you had a reputation in high school that you're not proud of, you start fresh. It's great to start over, and some people have to do that to survive and to thrive in their existence. And Sakura seems like such a nice little bean. He wants to be this big badass, like, take no prisoner, I'm the scum of the earth. And it's like, no, sweetheart, you're not. And so I love that within the first episode, we're going to talk about Furin and what he was expecting versus what he has come to find out about the gang high school. We're going to talk about all of them. But I love that it's going to work out in his favor for him to be the hero in this city and not like, I thought the series was going to go one way, and then in this episode alone, it's changed my expectations, and I'm like, okay, I'm excited to see what happens next. But we get this metaphor of him on the tightrope, right? Of him trying to skirt the line and just hating every second of it, right? And then we see that these girls at the high school are like, did you hear there was another fight? It's such a nuisance. So, I mean, this posh place not having fights. I'm like, again, that's why I was against it. Don't mess with him. He's clearly dangerous. There's nothing we could do. Nobody else would take him. Again, reasons why I connect this with Natsume's Book of Friends. But apparently, Sakura, and my dog is like, play with me. Apparently, Sakura has not had a great experience growing up. He's been kind of an outsider amongst his peers. He's like, has this reputation of somebody that wasn't accepted, that was just kind of taken in because nobody else wanted him. Of course, when he looks like that, I'm like, look, he ain't Quasimodo. Can y'all leave him alone? Like, so then the one vision of the guy, he says, I told you to dye your hair black. How many times do I have to say it? So I already love this idea that the series is giving us of a character who is in his old home. People were trying to force him to conform. They were trying to force him to fit into a box. They're like, you need to be normal. And to be normal, you need to dye all of your hair one color. Don't let it be half and half. Wear contacts, do whatever. And I like that Sakura was like, no, I don't want to. And so thus he got this reputation and was ostracized amongst his peers and amongst where he lived at, which is silly because like he has a badass look. Like any other series, they'd be like, look at that badass, cool. And here they're treating him like he's a freaking troll. I'm like, no. You don't have a wallet. Is that him? Seriously, the worst. What's with the hair? And his eyes are even worse. Like his eyes look amazing, but they treat him like he's a plague. Like he's freaking a villain from a series. And they call him gross. And that's when he slips from the, like, it clearly is showing this metaphor of he can ride the line and he can tow across the hardships in front of him for only so long before the one comment about him being gross tips him over the edge and causes him to fall. And that's what we're left with. So, yeah. But, I mean, I love that despite everything that's happened to him, he hasn't become like a total absolute asshole. He's like still this sweet bean. He's just trying to project this toughness to mask the fact that he's really kind of insecure about all of this. Also, I like the fact that we can tell he's moved to a new place because there's nothing in his apartment. It's just a bed right now. That's all he's got so far. And then he's just like, ugh. You can tell he's just mad about it. The animation in this episode was really good. I like the animation. I like the animation of the new town that he's in. We get to see all the wind chimes. We get to see all the stores. It says Tonpu Shopping Street. This entire place does not seem like a very urban area. It feels like, I don't know. It feels like it's not a small village. It's not rural, but it's not like a booming city either. It's just kind of in between. It's that very easily forgettable, often oppressed part of civilization where it's not rural enough to warrant like a tight-knit community where gangs really can't exist because everybody knows everybody, you know, but then again, it's not like a giant city where people are so forgotten that you can't really form communities, right? So you have this kind of in-between nature here. And they do a good job setting up. They set up the grocery store. They set up where the eggs are. They set up the soba shop, where the cigarettes are. They set everything up. And we have Sakura coming down the street, fitting that he has cherry blossoms around him. They're saying, I love the strong and I have no interest in the weak, which is line number 1 in this series. Line number 1, he's have no interest in the weak. So we go past the Furin sign, right? We have all these stickers and the graffiti. It says, anyone past this point who causes pain, who brings destruction, who holds evil in their heart, will be purged by Furin without exception. The idea of a high school becoming vigilante justice, sign me up. Sign me up. I freaking love it. I'm from a rural area and the countryside, and I will be the first to admit our local law enforcement are not the most reliable in the area for numbers of reasons. So it's very relatable, the idea of gangs and stuff doing it. I had on my channel like a year ago where some people near me stole copper line from my Wi-Fi. Like it wasn't a fiber optic cable. It was like the old fashioned copper line, #rural problems. And these people were stealing it and the law enforcement wasn't doing anything about it. And it was so frustrating. So there is a little bit of like a Batman-esque power fantasy of literally this high school is like, we all decided to become Batman. We all decided to become vigilante justice because our own justice and law enforcement are not getting the job done. So we're taking it into our own hands and the entire town is celebratory of it, which is kind of cool. I like that. But Sakura, word has not reached him about this change that happened interestingly enough, within the last 2 years. So I think we need to keep note that something has happened 2 years ago that caused this change to come out of nowhere. I'm sure that's going to become a plot point later. But then we meet Cotto. I like Cotto. Cotto, she's just trying to get her eggs home or back to her restaurant where she works so she can make some omelets. And then these guys, the Squirtle gang, shows up. And what I like about her is she looks like a Yakuza wife. I'm just saying, she looks like she would be married to she looks like she's been raised on the streets and she knows the streets and she knows how it is, but she's super nice and kind also. That series, Way of the House Husband, the wife in that series, she reminds me of her. Like just a badass woman who has a good heart, cares about her community, but also is like, I ain't afraid if y'all are going to crack a few eggs. I wonder what her and Hiragi's, except her eggs, she paid good money for those. I don't know what her and Hiragi's relationship is like. I don't know if they're brother and sister. I don't know if they're cousins. I don't know if they're dating. If they're dating, poor Sakura, because I was really shipping him and her right off the bat. But maybe they're just childhood friends. Maybe. I'm like, girl. Hiragi seems nice, but go for Sakura. Although this bean needs some time to heal. I like the animation on our greaser gang. This was giving me very Outsiders vibes. I don't know if you've read the story Outsiders. It's a classic American novel, but it's about kind of like a 1950s, like sort of rural, like the greasers are the rough around the edge gang in town that are kind of the impoverished kids. And then the socias, they're the socials or the socias. They are like the posh upper class kids who form their own like posh gang. And they have like a town rivalry, right? That seems to be the case like it is here, except there are no posh people, just gangs. So they try to like get a hold of her, and that's when Sakura shows up and just beats the crap out of all 5 of them. Can we talk about the choreography? The fight choreography in this, loved it. So smooth, so quick. It was giving me like 70s Japanese live action films. I was definitely here for it. What makes you think that you're strong? Remember my name and face, so the weak will avoid me and the strong will fight me. Haruka Sakura from Furin High School. Now here's the thing. The Furin High School, that garners a reputation in itself, so that got the gang's attention. But also, one of the reasons why everybody's treating him nice too is because he had the Furin jacket on, so they had that reputation. Everybody's like, oh, you're a nice kid. Which does beg the question, if he showed up without the Furin jacket on, would they have still treated him with as much kindness, knowing that he wasn't part of a group that they consider to be like saviors of the city? I don't know. That's a very good question, because perception matters and reputation matters in a lot of scenarios. So that is an interesting question to ask, but I really like our Chimera featured Haruka Sakura. I like Sakura a lot. He's such a little bean. He's a little bean. I want to put him in my pocket. He's trying to be tsundere, but he's failing so hard. It's like he wants to be tsundere so bad, but I'm like, my dude, no, you are an angel bean. Quit it. And the fact that he is easily blushy around girls. Now, whether him and Cotto end up as a ship, I do not know. But he gets very blushy around women. He gets very, very shy. And so I'm like, I'm excited to see what happens with that. But it's super cute. Bless his little heart. And he's like, well, it's not like I saved you or anything. And she's like, yeah, that tsundere act is not going to work at all. I love her accessories. I like her little silver like shark necklace and her little gold Triforce earrings. Love it. And she's like, come have an omelet. That's why I need to go get the eggs. That's why I've not seen you around, because you're from out of town. And we can see the grandpa in the back of the restaurant. He has like the little, he has a little bag that he ends up forgetting. She's like, it's not often someone moves to a town like this. I can relate to that so much, because where I'm from, most people leave town. They don't stick around. And it's not exactly a bustling metropolis of business, so not a lot of people move in. So I could definitely relate to what she's saying. And he's like, I'm a weirdo. And she's like, oh no, you're not a weirdo. Not here. I honestly, Cafe Pothos is where she works. She says the town was really unsafe until recently from fights and turf wars. I honestly feel so much for Sakura, because this poor boy has traumatized himself to the point of thinking that he's like this obscene, like vulgarity. Like he's this just like horrible cloud of disgust. And it's like, no, you're just a person. And the fact that he's convinced himself of this so heavily is really sad. And it really makes you feel angry at the town he came from for how those people treated him. Like, whatever. We always say with the team that I coach, it's like, it's about finding your tribe. It's about finding your people. And I feel like Sakura is about to find his people at this high school. And he says normal people would not come near here because of the various gangs. And she's like, I'm originally not from this town either. So I'm curious why Kotoha has moved here from Iwatobi. Why has she moved from her cousin Makoto's hometown to here? We shall find out. I'm very curious. I could cosplay as her, actually. I think I could, honestly. But she's super cute. I love her. And then, of course, Sakura's like, this lady, why is she so chummy with me? I'm like, because she's being nice. And something else I like about this series already is, because I'm shipping Cotto and Sakura right now. This could all change. If you know anything about me, I love shipping. And I'm not afraid. Gender means nothing in terms of shipping. So there's no telling who we're going to ship with who. But that being said, I already love the idea that this show is not instantly making the token female character be like, oh, Sakura, my hero, or her be like being blushy faced around him. Instead, it's the exact opposite. He's the one blushy faced, and he's like, well, I don't understand why this lady is chummy around me. I love it. I love it. And I love that she is not like goo goo gaga over Sakura. She's just like, hey, I know that you seem like an outcast from where you're from, but let me tell you, here, that's not the case. You actually have the chance to be a hero. And there's kind of this My Hero Academia quality to it, where in that series, you find out in the first 5 seconds of the series, so it's not a spoiler, but it's all about superheroes and about people being superheroes and that making them special or giving them this unique quirk, you know? So for Sakura, something that he's been looked down upon and chided about his entire existence is now a potential strength that he has. And that message of just because something about you has made you feel like you don't belong, it may just be where you're at. It does not mean you don't belong, because it may just be as simple as going to a new community where you are actually beloved and praised for those traits, right? Instead of ostracized for them. So I love that. I think that's so cool. I like it a lot. So he's like, I just pummeled 5 guys in front of her. And I'm like, she just explained to you that this town has a bunch of turf wars and gangs. You beating up 5 guys and fries ain't meaning nothing to her right now. So I'm like, I think that you don't have anything to worry about. And you could tell based on his appearance with his like eyes and his hair, he thinks she should judge him more. And she's like, aren't you going to eat? Like, what the heck, man? And he's like, I'm going to eat it. I was just going to do it right now. Super cute. And then, of course, he thinks it's amazing. And she's like, I know. I make a mean omelet. And he's like, can you get takeoff from this place? And she's like, do you mean takeout? No, you've got to come here and eat it in front of me. I'm like, dude, just go visit her. So she talks about his look being strange. Half of you is a different color. It's not like you dyed your hair and put in colored contacts, did you? And he's like, do you have a problem with it? She's like, it's like a marble. So, of course, all he knows is to be defensive about his looks. And he doesn't realize that she's just genuinely curious. And that's crazy, too, because, you know, usually when you meet people who have been traumatized by their past, then they think that, you know, you're being rude or you're going to demean them by being curious. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you're just curious. Like, I want to know more about you, right? She's like, I'm used to seeing crazier stuff. So he's like, well, how you look doesn't matter in a fight. So he talks about Furin. You know, he's like the lowest in rank, the strongest fighters, a hangout for miscreants. Well, that was before the reform. The story goes that there are fights every day, even during Oban and New Year's. And he's like, I'm going to be the top. I'm going to take the top spot. And I like that Cotto's like, you can't. And I also like how she says it's because you're by yourself. Whereas Furin is a group. You're not going to get anywhere alone, right? A battle to determine the scummiest of the scum. So the moment he said that, I was like, I think that Sakura starting out this series, you know, if we're talking about character arcs and what we could, you know, look at up and coming, Sakura starts out being like, I'm a monster and I'm going to be the king monster, the lowest of the lows, the scummiest of the scums. But in this one episode alone, Cotto and the others are kind of like, 1, you're not scum, you're a person and you're not that bad. 2, you're not a monster. You just are deeply traumatized from your upbringing. And 3, you wouldn't be at the top of this anyway because you're a nice person. And if it was as bad as you originally thought before we find out the 2-year reform that's happened, if the Furin gang was as horrifying as he makes them out to be in this moment, he wouldn't be top dog because Sakura's too nice. He's too kind. And he just is naturally kind-hearted. He's like, I just moved here, so I don't have any clothes yet. And she's like, sure. I bet you're looking forward to school tomorrow. He's like, well, we'll take this outside. So she's out of high school, right? Is that correct? Are we correct to assume that because she's not going to high school tomorrow, that she's graduated already? Maybe. Hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong, depending on how old she is, for this ship to happen. Or maybe she's just going to be an older mentor. Who knows? But yeah, when Sakura gives him the little bag with the bow, I'm like, this poor boy is trying so hard to be this evil badass. And I'm like, you are a precious being, and I want to hug you and save you from your trauma, sir. Don't change, Sakura. I love him already. I'm like, yes. He's just a beanified Ash Lynx, and I kind of love it. Hopefully he's not gone through as much trauma, but we'll see. So yeah, he's like, I don't get it. He gets the candy, and she's like, well, this was a gift earlier from him for his grandchild. He said, you're a lifesaver, thank you. He's just not used to praise. Our boy Sakura might have a slight praise kink. He might have a wee bit of a praise kink. A little bit. Maybe a little bit. I'm sure he's going to have a lot more blushing moments in the future, but he's like, this whole town is nuts, including you. He's like, for someone to look like this. He's like, and I'm wearing the uniform of the infamous delinquent school. Well, now we know that actually was doing the opposite of what he thought the reaction was going to be. I don't know. I guess he just got the uniform early and decided to wear it. And that's why he had the outfit on. He did say he didn't have any other clothes, so that probably is explained. But he apparently says that in his previous town, he picked up someone's wallet, to like give it back, and someone's like, you pickpocketed it from me, didn't you? And I think that's an important message, that for some people, even if they are nice, even if they don't mean any harm, sometimes, like, based on your family or based on your appearance, in his case, on his appearance at least, you are judged, and often judged wrong. And I feel bad for him in that regard, because Sakura clearly is a nice person. He's like, you have to check what was inside or be more careful. She's like, do you want to be trusted or not? And she's like, well, you were right in choosing Furin, but you can't get to the top because you're by yourself. I like this idea of the lone wolf versus the wolf pack mentality, and how, if you're by yourself, that's only going to get you so far. You have to work with others if you're really going to make a difference. And I feel like that's going to come into play with the idea of them helping out the town, working together. And for Sakura, who's someone who has always been on this tightrope by himself, that's going to be a learning curve and an adjustment to get used to working with other people and being accepted by other people, right? I love the animation in this so far. It's great. He's like, well, I'm not so weak that I can't win without relying on others. And she's like, that's not the point. She's like, you should go meet the Furin kids and then you'll understand. But before that happens, we get to talking about the gangs. So the one gang, like, they're causing all this damage. It's awful. And I like the fact that the people were like, they called, not the police, but they called the windbreaker, the Furin gang, to come and break it up. Like, I really love the setup and the reveal that we get at the end of it being that case. Also like the little intermission card. It's great. This just feels very retro in a way. I don't know how else to describe this series. The action, the choreography, it feels like it's paying homage to a lot of retro like tropes and ideas and giving them a twist, and I'm here for it already. I love it. So tall, beat up, bruised, and moto jacket wearing shows back up with his gang, this time with bats included, like they're gonna beat him up. Which I think says a lot when you had to go get all of your other boys and get weapons to go battle this kid. Doesn't exactly make you look good and tough as a gang, And then they make fun of his appearance. And I feel like there was somebody from Kuroko's Basketball that I wanted to compare Sakura to. There's a delinquent in Kuroko's Basketball. That's who I want to compare him to. That I kind of got the vibe of just like proving himself and being like, yeah, I'm a delinquent, what of it? Also like Megumi from Jujutsu Kaisen, which same voice actor. Are we surprised? But Sakura does not know how to handle praise, and he doesn't know how to handle acceptance and people, giving him a place of belonging. So he's like, I've always been denied and rejected. So he's like, if it's a feeling I'm used to, he's like, I want to find some value in me, and I know that there's value in my fists. If I beat the guy in front of me, then I'd be better than him. So I couldn't be at the very bottom spot in that case, could I? So then he goes after all these guys at once. I love the choreography. It was great. The fight choreography they showed, so smooth. Digging it. But yeah, so then Cotto's like, I want to see what's going on outside. And then this guy, who has nose bashed in, threatens her with a knife. Like, you brought a knife to a bat fight. What? And Sakura's like, let's not use knives, shall we? But damn, his ankle getting cut? That sucks. I'm glad that it was just the one cut, but still, the moment they showed that knife going off screen, I'm like, it's going to come back and be used. But yeah, also I like the way that they did design the characters where we get to see some muscle, especially with Sakura. He's got some abs, y'all. He's got some abs. But yeah, so then we get them all about to gang up, and he's like, if I just left her out, if I just didn't focus on Cotto, why am I protecting her? If I didn't do that, I'd be able to focus on just myself. But Sakura's too nice to do that, and he wants to help protect her, and that's when Hiragi shows up to like break up the fight and literally bend the bat in half. Like, also Hiragi is a freaking tall dude. So then we see his other guys show up. The one guy looks like Inumaki from Jujutsu Kaisen. The other guy looks like Tora he looks like a Blue Lock character. And then the other guy looks like the most standard anime men of men's. So he's like, there's a lot less here than what I heard. So they had been contacted over the phone. And when Sakura's like, why is Furin helping me out? I'm like, well, you are wearing their jacket, so... They're like, it's Furin's Hiragi. Okay. There's only 4 more of them. I'm like, you guys could barely handle one young man on your own. You think 4 you're going to take on? Okay. And the one guy's like 6'3"? Sure. Okay. So then they all start running after him, and it's like Matsumoto. So Matsumoto has the lion streak. Again, he looks like a Blue Lock character. I'm here for it. So Matsumoto, Kaji. Kaji looks like an Umaki. Like Kaji, he also looks like a character from Bleach, but I mean, the bowl cut and the headphones, I like it. And then Yanagita screams extra. Not extra as an over-the-top diva, extra as in I'm not going to remember your name, nor you in 2 episodes. So... He just looks so plain. I'm like, Yanagita, okay. Yanagita, more like, I'm gonna forget you. Sorry, that's so mean. Watch him have the most tragic backstory ever, and in 3 episodes, they're like, you bitch. He's like the most lovable character in the whole crew. Sorry. I'm in a mood. This series has me fired up. A lot. But yeah, so they beat them all up, as one would. And I like the Hiragi. Says, if you're hurt, stand back. Don't be fighting with a bum ankle. You're no use to us if you get hurt and make yourself a liability. I like that Furin's group is like, we're going to kick ass and take names, but we also care about your self-care and well-being. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Perfect. And Sakura's like, I'm just stunned. And then the townspeople are like, get him. And he's like, what is going on? He's like, everybody in town is cheering for this delinquent gang. And she's like, yeah, you were right. There was all the various teams and gangs fighting, but this town changed 2 years ago. I'm assuming that Hiragi had something to do with it. There's a long-haired character in the front next to wait. So here's the thing. There is a person obscured by the Furin symbol that we don't get to see who they are, that I'm assuming are the leader that started this change 2 years ago. There's someone with glasses to the left of them. Then there's Hiragi. We can see him. And then there's Matsumoto and Kaji and Yanagita? They're there on the left of that character. Then right beside is someone that has long hair. It looks like a skirt, so it looks like it's a woman. Or Kurama from Yu Hakusho. But I see heels. So there's a lady, and then looks like another girl and some other guys. I'm like, okay, all right, I dig. I cannot wait to meet these characters. Yes, please. But yeah, the students who changed it were the students of Furin High. I love this idea of an oppressed high school who were like, screw it, we're going to be a vigilante justice group. Living. The first thing they did was put a sign at the neighborhood's edge. Yep. And it was originally in the name of Furin High School. But before you knew it, the locals gave them a name. I love it. The Bofurin, which is basically the windbreaker, which I kind of love it. I love the idea. So if we look up what a windbreaker is, I don't want information about the series. I want just information about what a windbreaker is. A wind cheater. Okay. Oh, well, that's a jacket. Don't give me that. Why? Anyway, I want to find windbreaker Japanese culture. Like, what is that called? Okay. It won't give me anything right now. All it gives me are freaking jackets. But I like the idea that the windbreaker, if you have like a typhoon or a storm come through, they're the ones that break up the storm. So like earlier when the motocross jacket gang was coming through and tearing up shit, then these guys come in and are like, no, you need to stop that. So they kind of break up the storm. So I like that. If anybody knows any Japanese culture with the windbreaker, please feel free to comment down below because I don't want to look up any spoilers. So then everybody's so thankful. And she's like, the reputation you thought Furin had was true up until about 2 years ago. In fact, the fact that they're still fighting hasn't changed, but now they're loved and needed by everyone. And isn't that the way it works? That when the town needs help, then it's very accepting. And not that they weren't accepting before, but, you know, the fact that they helped clean up the town has helped the reputation. And Sakura just can't believe it. He's like, what do you mean that these people are being accepted? Like, they're delinquents, but the town's okay with it? It's like, yeah, they really kind of are. Like, they helped clean up, so the town has earned their respect. He's like, they're almost like heroes of justice. And Sakura's like, it's too good to be true, right? They fight looking like that. I like that Matsumoto's like, oh, bending that bat was awesome. And Hiragi's like, well, anybody can do that. Man, Hiragi for being a high schooler, he's got like the hollowed out cheeks. My dude looks rough. He is like rural town rough. But I know guys that I grew up with that were like that. He's like, they're not feared or shunned, but they're actually accepted. What is this? And then that's when they're like, you were really amazing too. And they go to like help him bandage his leg, but you can tell Sakura's been through some stuff because he has a very visceral reaction to them trying to help him, and Hiragi notices. So I don't know what kind of abuse Sakura has gone through as a kid, but he's been through some abuse because otherwise I don't think he would be as traumatized as he reacts, right? And I like that Cotto, you know, because he knows her, she is like, you know, you said you were alone, but I can tell you didn't willingly end up that way, I think. She's like, I don't want to assume, but I'm just putting my thoughts out there that maybe this is, you know, not something you intended. But she's like, you can be accepted here. Like, she's like, just let us welcome you with open arms. The people of this town will come to depend on you. And he's like, well, I don't need anybody and I don't want anything to do with anyone. It's like, come on, Sakura. Come on. Then why did you bring out what Grandpa Yama forgot at my shop? So it is her shop. So she might be older, so this shit might not be feasible. We'll see. Give Sakura a chance with a cougar. Why not? She's like, but you haven't given up on others yet. And you don't need to give up. And I like the idea of him framing like he's cut everybody out. He can't see what's right in front of him. Like his bangs, his hair, which is a tie to his oppression and his identity, have given him tunnel vision. And he can't see the full picture. And I love that she's trying to encourage him to break out from that. She's like, you'll become what you want to be if you do that. Good for her. Good for Cotto. And Sakura, I just want to give him the biggest hug. He's just like, I'm not ready to do that. But I like that he like looks over, and as he's running back, I like that he jumps over them. Like, did he see the guy coming? He's like, delinquents trying to play the hero. He's like, if it's about winning fights, even I can do that. What's this Furin crap? What guardians of the neighborhood? That sounds totally awesome. Yes. And then he manages, okay, so the one guy had a knife, the leader of the Squirtle gang, and was going to attack them, and then he just kicked the snot out of him. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Ooh! Yes, please. Can I actually be with someone here? Oh, I love it. I like that she's like, all right. Oh, love. His poor ankle, though, it's gotten hurt. The story of how a boy at the lowest of the low, hated by all, worth nothing but his fists, became the hero of the town. Oh, I'm so excited for Sakura to befriend the other members of Furin and to see what they're all about, to fight the rowdy gangs and turf wars of the city. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Cotto's like, I think you're going to get along just fine here. I also think it helps that she's an older woman, so she's got some more maturity on her, or at least she seems to be that way. We'll see. But yeah, then we got the ED, and then we got this little skit recapping. So, oh, I had no clue what this show is about starting off, and already I'm like, okay, all right. I'm ready for some character work. I'm ready to see what old Sakura is going to get into and who he's going to meet. So anyway, I'm super excited for the next episode, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts down below. So thank you so much for watching the reaction and the discussion. It's going to be a fun time with Windbreaker. I can already tell with seasons 1 and seasons 2. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm going to be back real soon, y'all, with more of Windbreaker. Bye!